Sir, it was me. I'm the student who saved you.
In the principal's office, a girl in an expensive North Face jacket spoke confidently.
Yes, I'm the one who carried you to the hospital through that snowstorm last night.
But the old man's expression turned ice cold.
That's not true.
Right then, standing by the door was a poor high school girl, trembling. Her torn palms and scraped knees still showed raw wounds. They were proof of that night she'd carried him through the blizzard. Before we get into the story, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being here at Heavenly Life today. That night, the snow was really coming down hard. There was a blizzard warning out. I finished washing dishes at Mom's diner and stepped outside. Most of the shops downtown were dark, with their awnings covered trying to keep the snow out. The snow was already up to my ankles. My shoes were worn through and cold water was seeping in. The old puffer jacket I had on over my school uniform was so worn out the filling had clumped together. Every time the wind blew, the cold cut right through to my bones. I ran to the bus stop, but it was no use. The digital sign just said service ended. A taxi was out of the question. I'd already planned to spend the $30 in my pocket on tomorrow's tutoring session. If I used that money, I couldn't go to this week's math prep class. So I started walking home through the snow. With every step, snow got inside my shoes. My toes were going numb from the cold, but I just kept going. I was used to this by now. Turning a corner down a narrow alley, I saw something strange. There was a dark shape in the snow. At first, I thought it was a trash bag. But when I got closer, it was a person. An old man had collapsed in the snow. My heart sank. A few people walked by, glancing and shaking their heads. Probably drunk. Can you believe people like that these days? A car drove past and honked. "You're blocking the road." The driver's irritated voice faded as the car drove off. I stopped for a moment and gently nudged him with my foot. "Sir, are you okay?" No answer. Just faint breathing. Right then, thoughts flooded my mind. If I just walk away now, nobody will blame me. I'm barely getting by myself. Why should I get involved? If I catch a cold from this, I can't even go to tutoring. But then I saw the old man's hand half buried in the snow. Like a discarded glove, frozen stiff and cold. Seeing that hand, something squeezed in my chest. This is really bad. With trembling hands, I started taking off my jacket. The cold air rushed into my thin shirt. Goosebumps covered my whole body. But I couldn't stop. I covered the old man with my jacket, then took off my thick uniform blazer and wrapped it around his neck and chest. Now I was left in just a thin shirt. The blizzard hit my skin. My teeth were chattering, but I held on. I bent down and lifted the old man onto my shoulders. He was heavier than I expected. My legs were shaking, but I pushed through. The snowy road was slippery, and my shoes were already soaked, my feet freezing. With each step forward, my body lurched. I desperately tried to keep my balance to avoid falling. The hospital was still far away. The first time I fell, my knee hit the ground hard. My uniform pants tore and my knee got scraped. I felt something warm running down, but I didn't look. I got back up and kept carrying him. The second time I fell, my palms got torn open. Drops of blood fell onto the snow. My hands hurt so bad, but I pushed through. Just a little more. Just a little more. Muttering to myself, I got back up. There was nobody on the streets. Everyone had already gone home. Only the streetlights lit up the falling snow. The third time I fell, I had no strength left to get up. I just wanted to sit down right there. But I could hear the old man's faint breathing on my back. I gritted my teeth and stood up. "Sir, hang in there. We're almost there." My voice was shaking. Finally, when I saw the hospital lights, I almost cried. I pushed through the emergency room doors and nurses rushed over, startled. "Oh my God, honey, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Please help him first." The moment I laid the old man on the bed, my legs gave out. I almost collapsed, but somehow stayed on my feet. A nurse looked at my hands and knees in shock. "Sweetie, you're hurt pretty bad. You need treatment." "I'm okay. I need to get home." I just wrote down my name and phone number on the form and left the hospital. Outside, the snow was still falling. Without my jacket and just a thin shirt, I walked home through the snow again. My body felt like it was freezing, but it was okay. At least I'd saved someone's life. When I got home, Mom still wasn't back from the diner. I went to my room, took off my wet clothes, and pulled the blanket over me. My whole body was shaking, but strangely, my heart felt warm. The next morning, I woke up to my alarm. My body felt so heavy. My back and shoulders ached so much I could barely sit up. The alarm had gone off and turned off several times already. My room was still dim. Only the morning light through the curtain barely lit up the space. On the table was lukewarm soup Mom had made before leaving for the diner. She must have left at 5 in the morning, like she always does. Looking in the mirror, my face was pale. I wished last night had been a dream, but the wounds on my knees and palms reminded me it was real. I put on Band-Aids and changed into a long-sleeve gym shirt. If I wore my uniform, all the wounds would show. On my way to school, I got a text from a friend. "Girl, it's still snowing like crazy. Let's pray for early dismissal." I almost laughed. If we got dismissed early, I'd just have to work more hours. I started to text back, but stopped and put my phone in my pocket. When I got to school, unmelted snow was piled high by the entrance. Kids were having snowball fights and messing around. The kids from the other class wore puffer jackets with designer logos showing. My old jacket looked even more shabby today. Actually, since I'd given my jacket to the old man yesterday, what I was wearing now was an even older backup. Homeroom started. Our teacher walked in. Same expression as always. "The foundation's cutting support, so scholarship numbers are being cut in half." She said it so matter-of-factly, like talking about the weather. The classroom went quiet for a moment. Some kids looked away. They were the friends who were counting on those scholarships. I was one of them. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the scholarship application I'd folded and unfolded so many times. The crumpled corners felt like my heart. This year's not gonna happen. That's what I thought. Then the school intercom came on. "Today we have a distinguished guest from the foundation visiting our school. All students, please." Kids started buzzing. "Is it a celebrity? Maybe the mayor?" Jokes flew around. I wasn't really interested. I just needed to get through today. Around the end of second period, something strange appeared outside the classroom window. Black cars started pulling into the school's main entrance, one by one. These weren't regular cars. They were luxury sedans you only see on TV. Among them, Mercedes with special license plates started lining up. Friends crowded around the windows. "Whoa, what is this? Are they filming something? Dude, are those real Mercedes?" The classroom got loud. I glanced over without thinking, but something felt off. From the first car, a man in a black coat stepped out. Tall with a sharp presence. You could tell right away he wasn't ordinary. The second car door opened. My heart stopped for a moment. It was the old man I'd carried last night. He was wearing a warm coat now, but the face was definitely the same. My hands started shaking. How did he get here? No, who even is he to arrive in cars like that? My head was spinning. The principal ran out to the entrance. He bowed deeply to greet the old man. He never does that, even for students. Teachers lined up and went out too, all wearing forced smiles surrounding the old man. My friend grabbed my arm. You okay? You look really pale." "Huh? Oh, I'm fine." That was a lie. There was no way I was fine. Last night kept flashing through my mind. The memory of carrying him through that slippery road. Kids in class were still staring out the window. Who's that old guy? Maybe the foundation chairman? Or someone from the school board? Everyone was just guessing. Nobody actually knew. I didn't know either. just that he was the man who'd been lying in the snow last night. During third period, the office suddenly called. Our teacher looked at her phone, then looked at me, with a strange expression. "Emily Carter, go to the principal's office." "What?" "Right now." The classroom went quiet. All my friends' eyes turned to me. "Did you do something? Is it about the scholarship?" Whispers filled the air, but I couldn't answer. I didn't know why either. On shaking legs, I stood up and left the classroom. Walking down the hallway, I wondered, could it be about last night? But that didn't make sense. I'd only left my name and phone number. I stood in front of the principal's office door. My hands were sweating from nerves. As I raised my hand to knock, I heard voices inside. "Come in." I opened the door. The moment I stepped inside, I couldn't breathe. In the principal's office wasn't just the principal, but also the man in the black coat from earlier and the old man. Next to them sat Madison, a transfer student in an expensive designer jacket. Suddenly, I became very aware of my old uniform and frayed backpack straps. The principal put on an exaggerated smile. One of our best students has arrived." "Best students?" "He's the one who's been cutting scholarships. This student is always so hardworking, does so much community service." The principal kept talking, but I couldn't hear any of it. The old man's gaze was fixed on me. Those same eyes I'd seen in the snow last night, except now they were much clearer and deeper. The man in the black coat spoke up. "The chairman is looking for the student who helped him last night." Chairman. That word hit me. "He's the chairman?" My mind went blank. Madison spoke up confidently. "Sir, it was me. I'm the one who carried you to the hospital through the snowstorm last night." The principal's face lit up. "Yes, sir." Madison has always been active in volunteer work. But the old man slowly shook his head. "That's not true." Just those words, but the whole room's atmosphere changed. That girl had worn out shoes, and her uniform was a bit short. She was small and thin, looked like she didn't have much. Didn't have much? Those words stung. Yeah, I was poor. The man in the black coat pulled out some papers. "We confirmed the name at the hospital. Emily Carter." When my name was called, my legs nearly gave out. Madison's face went white. The principal looked at me with a flustered expression. The old man turned to me and asked quietly, "Last night, why did you carry me?" I didn't know what to say to that question. After hesitating a while, I answered honestly. "Just nobody else was helping. The snow was so bad I thought if I left you there, you might die." My voice shook. I was freezing too, but the room went quiet for a moment. Madison muttered, "Who does that these days?" It sounded like she was calling me crazy, but I couldn't argue back. The man in the black coat spoke like he was wrapping things up. "The chairman would like to offer this student a special scholarship." But the old man cut him off. "I built this school so poor kids could get an education too." His voice got stronger. "But the scholarships got cut? Kids can't afford lunch?" "Principal." The smile disappeared from the principal's face. "Sir, the foundation's been struggling financially. Everyone's having a hard time." It sounded like an excuse. The old man spoke firmly. "Last night, the person who carried me to the hospital wasn't some rich kid. It was a poor girl." Silence filled the room, but the adults at this school decided to cut the poor kids first. The principal bit his lip at those words. "Is that what you call education?" The word poor was finally being said out loud in this office. I felt embarrassed, my poverty being discussed so openly. But at the same time, something felt different, like someone was finally on my side. The man in the black coat pulled out hospital security footage photos. Pictures of me carrying the old man inside. You could clearly see blood from my palms and knees. Madison looked at the photos and turned away. The principal couldn't find words. The old man asked me again, "Could you still do what you did that night?" Even knowing you'd lose out? I didn't need to think about it. Yes, I could. The old man smiled faintly at my answer. Good. I'm glad this school has a student like you. The man in the black coat handed papers to the principal. There will be an announcement tomorrow in front of all students. The principal's hands trembled. I still didn't fully understand what was happening. But one thing was certain. That choice I made in the snow last night was about to change my life. The next day, all the students and staff gathered in the auditorium. On stage stood foundation representatives, the principal, and Chairman Harrison. Students were buzzing. Is the school closing? Are they announcing test scores? All kinds of rumors flew around. I sat in the back corner of the auditorium. I didn't want to be seen. The chairman's voice echoed through the auditorium as he held the mic. Last night, I collapsed in the snow. The auditorium instantly went quiet. People walked right past me. Only one person helped. A poor high school girl. Murmuring grew louder among students. Curious looks crossed everywhere, wondering who it was. The chairman scanned the auditorium, looking for me. Emily, could you come up here? My heart stopped. My legs were shaking so bad I couldn't stand. The friend next to me looked at me in shock. Em, that was you? Slowly I stood and walked toward the stage. Hundreds of eyes followed me. When I got on stage, the lights were blinding. The chairman took my hand. You still have wounds on your hands and knees. Students started murmuring at his words. The chairman took the mic again. Emily, like yesterday, tell us honestly. How's the school been treating students lately? The principal started sweating and reached for the mic, but it was too late. I started speaking in a shaky voice. Since they cut the scholarships, more friends have been working jobs. I took a deep breath. After school, they go to convenience stores, early mornings to supermarkets, then they fall asleep in class. Some students hung their heads. It was their story too. Some friends skip lunch on purpose because they can't afford it. My throat tightened, but I kept going. Honestly, without a scholarship, I can't even dream of going to college. The auditorium became so quiet you couldn't even hear breathing. The reality of poor kids was finally being spoken out loud. Madison in the back looked away. She'd probably never thought about these things. She'd never had to worry about whether she could afford to eat. The man in the black coat pulled out documents. Foundation budget cut records. They showed exactly how much support had been slashed. The principal's face went pale. The chairman spoke firmly. This school was built for poor children. Silence hung in the air. When did it become a place that throws poor kids out first? The principal opened his mouth. Sir, the foundation's been struggling. If we're struggling, we should cut adult salaries first, not kids' scholarships. The chairman's voice got stronger. Every teacher in the auditorium lowered their heads. Students watched in hushed silence. Not a single child should have to give up their education because they're poor, the chairman declared. Starting today, all support goes back to what it was. No, we're doubling it. Gasps came from the back of the auditorium. Students looked at each other with disbelief. The principal hurried to speak. Sir, the board of directors would need to. It's my money. If I want to spend it where it matters, what's the problem? At the chairman's firm voice, nobody could argue anymore. Standing on that stage, I couldn't believe it. That choice I made in the snow last night was creating such huge change. The chairman looked at me again. Emily, if you hadn't carried me, I might have died right there in the snow. His voice softened. Thanks to you, I can write the end of my life a little differently. Tears were about to come, but I held them back. I'm just human. You know, my voice shook. Even poor people can do that. At that moment, applause started breaking out around the auditorium. Just a few people at first, but it grew louder. The whole auditorium filled with the sound of clapping. The principal bowed his head. The chairman took the mic again. Being poor isn't something to be ashamed of. His voice carried weight. Having a heart that can help others even when you don't have much yourself, that's true wealth. He reached out his hand to me. He was asking for a handshake. With trembling hands, I took the chairman's hand. It was warm. Emily, you reminded me why I built this school. His eyes reddened. To give hope to poor children. That's what education is really about. From the back, Madison stood up. In a shaky voice, she said, I want to start a scholarship too. Everyone looked at her in surprise. Even if I have to save my allowance, I want to help underclassmen. The chairman smiled brightly. That's a wonderful idea. I'll match whatever you contribute. Madison broke into a big smile. That day in the auditorium, a lot changed. The increased scholarships mattered, but what mattered more was that people's hearts had changed. The way they looked at poverty changed, not as something shameful, but something to overcome together. After that day, the school started changing slowly. The scholarship applications that used to sit in the office collecting dust were now front and center. Teachers who used to walk right past struggling students started asking questions. You working after school again today? Did you eat lunch? Small questions, but they meant everything. The principal called an emergency faculty meeting. His voice had changed too. We forgot why this school exists. To help kids who need it most. He looked genuinely ashamed. Starting next week, we're opening an evening study hall with free tutoring. We'll provide dinner for students who stay. Some teachers nodded slowly. Others looked uncomfortable, realizing how blind they'd been. Madison started showing up early to help set up the study hall. At first, kids were suspicious. Why is she being nice all of a sudden? But Madison kept showing up, bringing extra supplies, helping underclassmen with homework. One day, she sat down next to me in the library. I'm really sorry about what I did. Her voice was quiet, almost embarrassed. I grew up never having to think about money. I didn't understand. I looked up from my textbook. It's okay. You're trying now. That's what matters. She looked relieved and smiled. Want to help me organize the supply drive? We're collecting notebooks and winter coats. Sure, I'd like that. From that day on, Madison and I worked together often. It was strange at first, but it felt right. Chairman Harrison visited the school once a month after that. Not with the fancy cars and security detail. Just him, walking through the hallways, talking to students. He'd sit in the cafeteria eating with kids, asking about their dreams, their struggles. One afternoon, he stopped by my table. Emily, how's everything going? Good, sir. Really good. The tutoring program is helping a lot. He smiled warmly. You know, I built this school 40 years ago with money from my first business. I'd never heard this story. I grew up poor. Really poor. My dad worked 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. Other students nearby had stopped eating to listen. When I made money, I remembered what it felt like to be hungry, to watch other kids with things I couldn't have. His eyes got a little misty. That's why I built this school. So kids like me, like you, would have a shot. You're making a real difference, sir. He patted my hand gently. No, Emily. You made the difference. You reminded us all what really matters. The months passed. My grades improved with the tutoring help. College applications started feeling less like a fantasy and more like a real possibility. Mom's Diner started doing better too. Chairman Harrison had been stopping by for coffee, and word got around. Is that the place where the chairman eats? Suddenly, we had new customers every day. Mom could finally afford to hire another server. Baby, I'm so proud of you, she said one night while we were closing up. I didn't really do anything, Mom. You did everything. You showed people what kindness looks like. Winter came around again. One evening, I was walking home from the library. It started snowing just like that night. Up ahead, I saw someone sitting on a bench at the bus stop. A young woman, maybe early 20s, crying. She had a backpack and a small suitcase. Her coat looked thin. I almost kept walking. It was cold, I was tired, and I had homework to finish. But something made me stop. Hey, are you okay? She looked up, startled. I'm fine. Just having a rough day. Where are you trying to go? the women's shelter downtown. But I missed the last bus and don't have money for a taxi. I looked at the falling snow. It was getting heavier. Without thinking too hard about it, I pulled out my phone. Let me call you a ride. No, I can't let you do that. I don't even know you. That's okay. Someone helped me once when I needed it. Just paying it forward. I called a car service and paid with the money I'd been saving for new shoes. While we waited, I took off my scarf and wrapped it around her. Here, take this. It's cold. I can't. Please. I have another one at home. That was a lie, but it didn't matter. When the car pulled up, she hugged me tight. Thank you. I won't forget this. Take care of yourself. As the car drove away, I stood there in the snow. My phone buzzed. I'm doubling your scholarship for next year. Not because you need a reward, but because I know you'll use it to help others. My hands were shaking as I typed back. Thank you, sir. But honestly, I would have done it anyway. I know you would have. That's exactly why you deserve it. Walking home that night, I thought about everything that had happened. A year ago, I carried an old man through a snowstorm. I didn't know who he was. Didn't know what would happen. I just knew someone needed help, and I could give it. That one choice changed everything. Not just for me, but for so many kids at school. The scholarship expansion meant dozens of students could stay in school instead of dropping out to work. The tutoring program gave kids like me a real shot at college. And the culture shift, that was maybe the biggest thing. Teachers started seeing us differently. Not as poor kids who were just problems, but as human beings with potential. That night in the snow taught me something important. Being poor doesn't mean you have nothing to give. Sometimes the biggest gifts come from people who have the least. Because when you know what it's like to struggle, you understand what help really means. I got home and Mom was waiting with hot chocolate. You're freezing. Where's your scarf? I gave it to someone who needed it more. She shook her head, smiling. Just like your father. Always giving away what you don't have. Is that a bad thing? No, baby. It's the best thing. I sat down at the kitchen table, wrapping my hands around the warm mug. Through the window, I could see snow still falling. It reminded me of that night with Chairman Harrison, but also of tonight, with that young woman at the bus stop. The cycle continues. Someone helps you, you help someone else. That's how things get better. Not through grand gestures or big announcements, but through small acts of kindness when nobody's watching. A few weeks later, I got my college acceptance letter. Full scholarship to a state university. Mom cried when I showed her. We did it, baby. We really did it. Chairman Harrison sent me a handwritten note. Emily, watching you grow this year has been one of the great joys of my life. You reminded me why I built this school. Never forget where you came from and never stop helping others climb up behind you. I kept that note in my wallet. On tough days, I'd pull it out and read it. It reminded me that one moment of courage in a snowstorm could change everything. Not just for me, but for everyone around me. The last day of school came. At graduation, Chairman Harrison gave the commencement speech. Some of you know the story of Emily Carter. He began. I felt my face turn red as hundreds of eyes turned toward me. She saved my life last winter. But more than that, she saved this school. The auditorium was completely silent. Emily reminded us that education isn't about buildings or endowments. It's about giving hope to kids who need it most. He looked directly at me. Emily, would you come up here? On shaky legs, I walked to the stage. He handed me a framed photo. It was from that night. Security footage of me carrying him into the hospital. You could see my torn hands and the determination on my face. This is courage, he said to the crowd. Not the absence of fear, but the choice to help anyway. The audience erupted in applause. Standing there, I realized something. That night in the snow, I thought I was just saving one person. But really, I was saving a whole community. By showing people what compassion looks like, even when it costs you. After the ceremony, students and parents came up to thank me. Some were crying. My daughter gets to stay in school because of you. My son got into college with the new tutoring program. Each story reminded me why that cold night mattered so much. As I walked out of the auditorium, Madison caught up with me. I'm starting a foundation for students like us. Like us? Yeah, I realized something this year. Money doesn't make you better than anyone. What you do with what you have, that's what matters. She looked determined. I want to help. Really help. Not just throw money at problems, but actually be there for people. That's amazing, Madison. Want to help me run it? I figure you know better than anyone else what students really need. I thought about it for a second. Yeah, I'd love to. We walked out into the sunshine together. The snow was long gone now, replaced by warm spring air. But I'd never forget that winter night. The night I learned that the smallest acts of kindness can change the world. You don't need to be rich or powerful to make a difference. You just need to see someone struggling and decide to help. Even when it's hard. Even when it costs you. Because that's what humanity is really about. Taking care of each other, one person at a time.